Hello and welcome to this special edition of Moneyline, where we speak to our captains of industry, taking them beyond the boardroom and finding out what makes them tick. Today we meet Margaret Hirsch of Hirsch's, the mega appliances, electronics and air conditioning giant. She's won numerous awards for her entrepreneurship and she's passionate about empowering women. Margaret Hirsch learned all she knows from the School of Hard Knocks, a journey that led to her being awarded South Africa's most influential woman in business and government in 2011. The business she started with her husband in 1979 now generates in excess of 1 billion rand in turnover and is still growing. Hirsch's was started by Margaret and her husband Alan, who was a refrigeration technician earning 25 rand a week. Margaret was a secretary. She was fired by her boss when she fell pregnant, and she and her husband started Hirsch's with 900 rand capital. Today, Hirsch's has 7 branches in KZN, 5 in Gauteng, and 1 in the Cape. They also own 5 concept stores in the 3 regions and plan on opening more stores in the Cape and Gauteng before heading into the rest of Africa. Margaret, thank you so much for making the time to talk to us.
Pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
You co-founded one of the, I think, the largest independently owned retail outlets in South Africa. A massive achievement. Tell us how it all started.
It was in the days when J Hellman started Game, Dion Friedlander started Dion, Tony Factor was big in Joburg, and Alan Hirsch was working as a refrigeration mechanic, and he said to his boss, well, why don't we start discounting appliances? And his boss said, if you're so clever, you go start your own business. So he did. So we went from having no children and 2 jobs to 2 children and no jobs in the space of 1 year. So that was our incentive to get ourselves going, and we just had no one to fall back on. We had nothing to fall back on, so we had to go forward. And I think that's a big thing today. If you know you've got nothing to fall back on, no one to fall back on, you know you have to keep going, and that's exactly what we did. So we started our business with a capital of 900 rand, which was both our severance pays put together. So out of the 900, we paid 300 rand for our first month's rent, 300 rand for our electricity deposit, and 300 rand was for our sign outside and our books.
What did you
invoice
eat?
Books. And we were very poor. The first day our takings were 11 cents. But in those days, a loaf of bread only cost 9 cents. So we had a loaf of bread. And that's all you need is a loaf of bread to start you off. And that's how we started. But we knew that by the end of the week, we had a man working for us and we had to be able to pay his wages. So we had to work, and we really worked hard. Alan did the work. I was still at home with 2 babies, doing the books from home, and that's how it started out. We started.
You were doing the books at this time for the business.
Yes, the woman always does the books. That's always my advice to any business: let the woman do the books. Okay, and so that's how we started out. Very small, in a little store in Umhlanga Drive, not much bigger than your bathroom. And we just grew from there. And then what would happen is some days we'd go to fix a lady's fridge or stove and it wouldn't be worth fixing. We would go and buy one and sell it to her. We'd get it and my husband would go and install. Because today, if you want to get ahead, no matter what industry you're in the service industry. So we're in the service industry. We're there to serve. So he would go, he would take the old stove or fridge out, he would install the new one, take the old one away to the dump for the lady, which nobody else was doing.
So you were building relationships with your customers. They weren't just people you were selling things.
No, I mean, with a whole thing, we knew everybody. And the nice thing about being in Durban North in those days was a village. Everybody knew everybody. And my husband had been the repairman in the previous business for a while, so everybody knew him. They would phone him if they needed something. So that's how it started. But it was very slow, it was very tough. I can remember one stage in about, it must have been probably October, November, we started phoning people and said, would you like your air conditioner to be serviced? And we sat for 3 weeks phoning people, would you like us to come and service your air conditioner? And they'd say, no, go away, stop phoning me. But we just persevered and persevered, because then the first hot day, the phone just rang off the hook. All those people we phoned came. So sometimes you're working really hard and you don't think you're getting anywhere, but you've got to build those foundations to be able to grow later.
When did you know it was going to be fine? You've got 2 kids and you both had no jobs. You're starting this business. You're making,
minimal money.
Exactly. Yeah. When did you know it was fine?
I don't think you ever know it's fine, because you go along and, sometimes you're going along, and we were going along really, really well. In 1988, we had 2 million rand in the bank. And so we listened to other people, and I always said, never listen to other people. And they said, you know, you've got such a brilliant company, you've got yourself and Alan at the top, and you've got your whole workforce underneath, but you need a good middle management. So we didn't know we were going to get a middle management. And they said, why don't you buy a going concern that's got a good middle management? So we did. We went out, and in Pietermaritzburg we found a fabulous company, been going for years, family business like ours. The man wanted to retire. He had 3 sons. We thought this was wonderful. And I said to him, how much do you want for your business? He said, 2 million rand. We thought, well, this is, you know, perfect. Yeah. But what we didn't understand was, and because we didn't understand that much about books and that type of thing, when he showed us his books, he showed that he'd paid all the creditors, but in fact he hadn't. So when we paid our money, he released all the creditors' checks. So we went from having 2 million rand in the bank to 3 million rand in overdraft in one afternoon. So although you start and you think you're going well, there's always something that comes and will pull the rug out from under your feet. And I always say to people, it's going to happen to you, be ready for it. And when it happens, you can't give up. Because at that stage, it had taken us 10 years to make that 2 million rand. And we lost not only that, but more than that in one afternoon. And then we had to start all over again. So people say, how do you, you've done so well, you started with 900 rand. No, I didn't. In 1988, I started all over again with the 3 million rand overdraft. And in those days, 3 million rand was a lot of money.
Was a lot of money. How did you firstly react in that one afternoon?
You know, you go into the shock, the disbelief, the denial, the anger, and then eventually you pick yourself up and say, we just have to get over this and start all over again. And I think that's where most people give up. Most people give up at that stage, but you can't. And I always think God gives you these things just to see how strong you are, to see if you can overcome these obstacles. And you know what Willie Jolie says, a setback is just a setup for a comeback. And that's when we had to just set ourselves up and come back again. And we really worked hard, and we had to work harder than we'd ever worked before to get over, to pay the debt back and to get over it and start over again. Yeah.
Tell us about your first store.
Our first store was in Umhlanga Drive. It was a tiny little store which we rented, and we had the sort of office, and when I tell you a tiny showroom, we fitted a fridge and a stove in it, and the workshop was at the back. And what happened then is we had this rep who would come around, and he would say to us, why don't you try this, why don't you try this? And in 1979, nobody knew what a microwave oven was. Yeah. So he said, we've got this new thing. I don't even know what it is myself. It's a box, but it cooks quickly. Do you want to take it? And I'm sure you'll sell it. So we took it in and we thought we'd sell it. But a month came and went and we hadn't sold it. And now we'd paid for it and we didn't have that kind of money. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll take it home and I'll try and use it. So I took it home, I read the instruction book, and boy, I like quick things, I like food, and it was just everything that I wanted. Yeah. So what I decided to do is our shop was really small, so we had to take the fridges and stoves and put them on the pavement, put some chairs there and a table, and I put the microwave oven on it, and I invited about 11 people around, but I invited couples because I realized that in those days I was a housewife, yeah. And I realized that the housewives didn't have the money and they would have to show their husband. So if I told them, they'd have to go and tell their husband, and they wouldn't do such a good job as I would do. So we invited 11 couples around and we sat them in there literally cheek to cheek, and in the front I put the microwave up and I cooked a chicken, which takes 20 minutes, as you know. People have been used to the oven for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I cooked a pineapple upside down cake, which takes 3 minutes, and I made fudge, which took less than 5 minutes. And so in the 20 minutes I had made this food, and then they all tasted it and they thought it was wonderful. And that night we sold 8 microwaves. And that was the start. You see, if you want to get ahead, you have to have an idea that nobody else had had. So I started the first independent microwave cookery school in South Africa.
Wow.
Started teaching people to cook in the microwave. Because once they could cook in the microwave, they then spread the word and they told other people. And then those people came and I taught them how to cook. And so that's how our business literally took off.